Okay, boys and girls, we're going to start multiplying, but we're going to multiply a whole number by a fraction. If you look here, we have the big bicycle race, and the bicycle race is 480 miles long. At the end of day one, because it's a several day thing, Nora, Stuart, and Margaret are long distance bicycle racers. They enter long races that last several days. This year they're entering a big bicycle race, and like it said, the total distance is 480 miles. Each day they're allowed to ride for 6 hours and then they have to rest. So we want to know at the end of day one, how much did each one complete of the race? Well, we can first look at who completed more and who's further ahead, because we know how to compare fractions. So let's go back on what we already know, and by looking at this, Nora went 1/6 of the way, Stuart went 1/10 of the way, and Margaret went 1/8 of the way. Stop and talk to your partner about who went the furthest, who's ahead, and who's in last place, and why. Well, now that you're back and you've talked about it, you have figured out that Nora she is the one went the farthest, because 1/6 is greater than 1/10 and 1/8. Stuart is behind. He's going to have to work a lot harder the next couple days to catch up. He's 1/10 of the way, and that's a lot smaller, because in fractions, when the denominator is bigger, it's less, because we're cutting them into more pieces. But what happens if we say we want to know exactly how far did Nora, Stuart, and Margaret make? Well, on each day, how many miles did they do it? So what we really want to know is, what is 1/6 of 480? Well, if we ask that question, we are multiplying, because of means to multiply. So we're really doing, let's do a bar graph, because I like to have pictures at first to help me figure this out. So I know the total distance that we went is 480. I know that Margaret went 1/6 of the way. So I know the whole thing equals a 480, but I know that I have to break it, because of the denominator. I have to break this into 6 equal parts. And yes, I know my parts won't be totally equal, but now from what we've learned before, we're going back on what we've already learned. Too many, sorry. We're going back on what we already learned, and because we did before of the classroom, what was like 1/4 of 32 students. And we figured out we have to ask ourselves, 6 goes into 480 about how many times, or exactly how many times? Well, I like to always take the 0 off for right now, and I say 6 times what gets me to 48? Well, I know that because that's my favorite. 6 times 8 equals 48 times 10. So I know that each 1/6 of the race is 80. My numerator tells me how many of those 80 stretches did I go. Oh, 1. So I know Nora went 80 miles the first day. Well, let's look at Stuart. He went 1/10. So right away I gotta do what? I know that I have to cut my thing into 10 equal parts. Then I have to ask myself, 10 times what goes into 480? Well, base 10 is pretty easy, so I know it's 48. So each one of these little chunks is worth 48. I know I need only one of them. I know he went 48 miles. Let's figure out Margaret. She went 1/8. Okay? Take your bar, you do it, and then see if you do get the same answer as I do. So stop it, figure it out and see if you did the same thing I did. Okay, I cut mine into eighths because that's what my denominator told me. How many equal parts of the whole I need. And I know I got to ask myself, 8 goes into 480, take the 0 off. 8 goes into 48. Oh, my favorite, 6 times 10 is 60. So each one of these are worth 60, but I only need one of them, so I know she went 60 miles. Were we correct? Yeah, Nora went more, the most. Then Margaret was in, and poor old Stuart, he only got 48 miles. He's going to have to work a whole lot harder to get going. So, I want you to do with your partner 71 and 72. Same concept, same thing as what we're doing. Well, once we figured that out, let's go on to what we've talked about. Well, what happens if how would you write an equation to show the total distance Olivia's bike in 2 races? If she did 2 races, so we want to know if one race was 100 miles and the second race was 100 miles, what did she do in 2 races? Well, we would look at this and we would have to do what? If it's 2 races, that means she went twice as far, so we need 2 of these. And if we look at that, that's 2 times 100, which is 200. So here shows the picture representing that. What if Olivia's bike breaks down and she could only bike half of the 100-mile race? What would the picture look like? Well, we would just say, here's the picture. She only went halfway, so of that half, we know that 2 times 50 equals 100, because how many times does my denominator go into the whole number? 50 times. My numerator tells me she went 50 miles. All right, please finish page 73. And we are starting multiplying fractions.